Welcome to this week's Trading Success podcast with Cam Buchanan from the International Day Trading Academy. We've got some very interesting breakouts occurring in the markets. We're seeing some big rallies in the US indexes starting this week. And we've also seen Bitcoin have a breakout on the weekend as well. So let's go and have a look at the charts. Before we do that, let's have a look at what's happening in terms of news around the world. Now, we are 3 weeks away from the US elections, which is, we're seeing the volatility index increasing. It's up around that 20 mark. And we know we're going to see some volatility over the next 3 weeks. We're also coming into this week as well. There's going to be an increase in seismic activity and weather situations. We've seen a lot of weather already occurring in the United States, and a big shout out to all of our members over in Florida and Carolina who've been affected massively by those hurricanes, Hurricane Milton in particular, devastating over there. As we know, a lot of this seismic activity is driven by a lot of solar activity. So there's a lot of activity out in the greater atmospheres that have an effect on Earth, right? So a lot of those solar flares and seismic activity comes from a lot of that activity with the planets, and particularly the sun has such an effect on the planet. So that can also affect markets as well. So I think we're going to see an increase in volatility, particularly this week. We're going to see an increase in volatility, and even on Monday, we saw a big breakout on the US indexes, and it was basically it wasn't a full bank holiday in the United States, but it was a public holiday in a lot of states. However, it did not affect the markets at all. So the markets rallied massively. So let's have a look at what's coming up this week in the news. But first of all, let's have a look at what's happening with the election at the moment. So having a look at here at the predict poll, which is one of the polls at the moment. So this is the last 30 days of activity. So we can see here last week, Donald Trump has taken a lead in the betting. He's up to 54% or 54 cents, whereas Kamala Harris has dropped in the betting. She's down to 49 cents. So, this has the Republicans leading at the moment with 3 weeks out. Also, too, this week we do have some big companies. It's pretty much the final couple of weeks of earnings results. So the big one that affects the NASDAQ is Netflix. We can have a look at Netflix charts. So on the 17th of this month in the United States, Netflix will be coming out. So you can see the Netflix chart. We're in a steadily rally. So potentially a nice opportunity for a Netflix buy if the market decides to break out. And also we have Blackstone. Blackstone is the largest asset company in the world, and it's on the S&P 500 as well. It's a very large stock, pays a very good dividend actually as well. Blackstone. You can see here they're in a beautiful breakout position here. You can see we've gapped up yesterday on that big rally in the markets as well. So Blackstone's earnings are coming out as well on the 17th as well. So Blackstone is one to follow as well. But just in terms of, you can see where we are in this market. We're in a full bull rally at the moment. This is very much a classic, I guess, what do they call it? A benchmark of the S&P 500, particularly in the second half of the real estate cycle, because it is a real estate investment property trust. It's very well looked at in terms of how the economy is faring. So at the moment, this market is making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows. So it's all bull in these with these indexes, particularly these very strong real estate stocks, which are representing the overall strength of the real estate market, I guess, and that's has a big bearing on the economy overall. So they're good charts to look at. So let's not much news in terms of financial news coming out this week. Typically, we have our unemployment news coming out on Thursday weekly, but not a lot. Wednesday night, we have oil inventories, but not a lot of news really to come out. Okay, so where can this market go to? So let's have a look here. This is a monthly chart. Let's have a look at the monthly chart of the S&P 500. So, this is a lot of data back from pretty much the bottom, from the last GFC. You can see that the market is rallying. So we're in this big bullish rally. Looks like we're in this final stage of this bull rally. And where can this market go? Well, look at some of the targets. 6,000. We're not far away from 6,000, being the 127.2 of this last rally up. The 150, all right, or 50% of this last large rally from 2020 upwards to 2022 puts us at around about 6,572. And then if we break beyond that, if we can double this retracement or this leg or this big swing, we're looking up around about 8,000 points. So, you can see the Fibonacci levels there around about 7,000 is also very much on the cards. So I think, if we go steady by steady, the next level is definitely, we're very close to 6,000 points on the NASDAQ. We look at the daily timeframes. Let's have a look here. So if we looked at the balance rules, you can see we broke out of balance last week, and we had a big breakout on, I think that was on Wednesday, and then on, that was on Friday. Thursday we broke out of the balance range here. Then Friday we had a very quiet inside day. Then on Monday we broke out of the market, of the range here, and then on, I think I've got my days completely wrong. Let's retake that, shall we, guys? So let's have a look at the daily chart here, and we can see here we had a breakout of this balanced range, and then we had a big breakout last night out of this new balance range here. So we did a breakout here on Friday, and then on Monday, we broke out massively to the upside on very little news or anything, really. It was just a huge run. Very low volume as well. So we don't know how sustainable that move is up on that low volume, but we've broken out of balance, and we are, like I said, we're looking at potentially moving up to around about 6,000 being the next target. Let's have a look at the NASDAQ. So NASDAQ broke out of its balance as well yesterday. Notice how we've got this very large imbalance zone that this market has filled in. So we're not far away from that, which is up around about 20,700. So maybe we'll get a little retrace today, and then we'll hopefully by the end of the week we may see an attack up to 20,700. But once again, we're going to have a lot of volatility this week. So expect that as well in the markets. Let's have a look at our Bitcoin, because Bitcoin had a big breakout. Let's have a look at some potential targets on Bitcoin. So you can see some of these major trend lines that have been respected on the way down. You can see this is on the weekly time frame. So you can see here on the weekly time frame, the market is finally creating higher highs, higher lows. So it's the start of a bullish sign on the Bitcoin. You can see this major last pullback on the weekly chart. You can see we've found support here for 2 weeks in a row at the 50%. So that's a pretty strong sign, and we've broken out of a couple of these, or this major trend line here, but we've got this trend line back above us here as well. If we bring in this trend line here, you can see here this upwards trend line, and also this. I'll bring in another trend line as well. So you can see here we are swinging up. That could potentially be the first target up here around about 68,000. Probably, hopefully get to see 68,000 touched this week. But once again, we need to see this market holding above these trend lines. And, you can see if we can hold above this trend line this week, then we'll probably be testing this upper trend line or this outer trend line. You can see here we've already tested the 76 of the range at 66,000. We tested that last night. Let's see if we can get above 66,000 and hold above that and get higher. But it's looking good for Bitcoin at this point in time. So have a look at oil. Oil had a really big breakout last week. It's rallied beautifully. Oil has. You can see on the daily chart, we're swinging back up. But interesting, look where we actually failed. Like the high point we got to was this major trend line that's been respected, as well as the 200 expansion level as well from this major retrace here. So the market is, if we just recorrect this retracement, you can see here we've come back to the 61.8. We've had quite a large pullback here. It is a two-phase pullback. So let's see if we can find support at $71. That could be a really good place to buy oil from after this large pullback. Let's have a look at gold. Gold really showed some strong moves as well later last week after this two multi-phase contract complex retracement. On the daily chart, we can see that gold is going up and it's failing at the 76 on the gold futures. And we've got a little reversal candle structure here. Once again, trend lines seem to be playing a very powerful part in this analysis. If we can get above this upper trend line, then gold's obviously going to go up and retest all-time highs again, up around 27.10. And then from there, obviously, where can we go? 2,800. These round numbers are very high on the cards there as well. So gold, once again, looking very bullish. As we know, we are just in this complex retracement phase at the moment. And the final market we looked at last week, we looked at government bonds, particularly the 10-year Treasury, and we could see that government bonds has been going down last week. So as we know, if the bond price is going down, it means yield is increasing. So, and typically money comes into bonds when stock markets are fairly, there's not a lot of activity happening in the stock markets. So as we can see, the stock markets has really picked up over the last week or so. So we could see there is just a slowing down in the bond market and potential money coming back into the stock market. And if players aren't in the stock market, this could be the final chance that players get in the stock market, longer term players, because we probably will see a long-term rally going into 2025 as predicted in the stock market. So this is probably the last opportunity. If you're going to invest in the stock market and take advantage of the returns for 2025, this could be the last opportunity. We've seen NVIDIA come in at some really good prices around that $110, $120 mark. Now it's trading well above 130. NVIDIA seems to be the darling of the stock market. So that's probably one of the best stocks that you could potentially buy if you were going to hold for or trade an NVIDIA while we're in this bullish market for probably the next 12 months or so. We're probably going to see gains in the stock market. NVIDIA could be one of those markets you could do very well out of. Anyway, that concludes the Trading Success podcast this week. Guys, thanks for joining. If you like the podcast, you like the information you're receiving, just remember, click on the subscribe, click on the like button. And also, if you want to find out more about what we do in terms of our trading, we had some incredible trading results last week in our live trading rooms. If you want to find out more about our live trading rooms, just email us at info@idta.com.au. This is where we take advantage on a daily basis of these these daily analyses that we do on these larger charts, we actually look to take advantage of the fluctuations in the price market on a very small time frame. So, this analysis is a very important part of the building blocks of our overall trading strategies. So thanks, everyone. We'll talk to you really soon. Bye for now.